We're back then, guys, for another episode of the Marshall. No, not the Marshall View anymore. It is now Empower Online. And this time we've got Aaron Davis, my coach, my good friend, who is currently swinging his stick about. Just for some context on that, he is a Kali practitioner. So, yeah, all good. We're going to chat about his history in the martial arts, his history with MKG, his history with DeCampo, his recent trip to the Philippines, his work in Tai Chi and Ghost as well. So, as I say, he's a man of many talents, and he probably is going to hate doing this, which causes me immense pleasure.
I knew it would.
And that's the main reason I got him on. So, Aaron, thanks for coming down, buddy.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, yeah, I really appreciate it. We always go back to the start then of how you got started in the martial arts, when you got started in the martial arts, and what kind of led you down this path to where we are today.
I got started, like most people, as a child doing karate. I did Wateroo for a few years locally and then stopped because it didn't really tick the boxes that I wanted. Or just I wasn't mature enough to do it. I don't know. I just stopped.
What box were you looking to be ticked at that point?
Well, more the patterning that we were doing didn't seem to me to go across well for actual fighting and self-defense.
Yeah.
Unless you fought another guy that was doing karate and he was doing the same kind of thing.
Sure.
When I remember going to CETA, which was when I left school, I went and become a maintenance engineer at a hospital, and we had to do a year's training in this engineering organisation. And we would be left in a room with all these other guys that you'd meet, and someone would be like, "Oh, let's do some body sparring." And I remember getting my butt handed to me because I took my best karate pose and went into actually, he was a boxer now, just went butt and just lit me up, and I was just like, hang on a minute, you know. So my thoughts for that time were quite just sort of thing from my experience.
Sure.
Then I was about 18, 19 and saw an advert in the Daily Echo, which was how old that was. Little advert saying, "Do you want to learn Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do?" There you go. That seems a bit more my style. So I went and trained with a guy locally called Mike, who was an awesome instructor in JKD Kali, which was my first kind of introduction to that. He was more of a Dosse Paris guy. So he was an instructor in that. So we did Dosse Paris, and then he was also under Rick. So he would host Rick Fay, and then that was the first introduction to Guru Rick, which was...
There you go. And what was it like with Guru Rick for the first time?
Yeah, he hosted Guru Rick, I can't remember when it was. I must have been about 2021, so only a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago. Yeah, and when Rick came over, he used a guy called Brendan for everything. All the demos were Brendan. Brendan would come up and do all the demos, and I was thinking, God, this guy looks good. Mm-hmm. This guy looks exactly like this guy. This is who I need to be with. This is the guy. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And sure enough, he was the guy. So I then trained with Brendan for the rest of my time and the rest of his time. 3 times a week, I would drive to Bournemouth, so like 65, 70-mile round trip, and I would do 2 Tuesday and Thursday with him, 2 classes each night, and then I would go for a 1-to-1 on a Saturday in his little home garage gym. So, and then still to this day, I've met some of the best people in martial arts, best friends to this day. Like Eddie comes over now and he teaches our Ghost program.
Yep.
Ed Longdon, who's a black belt under Brendan, also a black belt under Phil in Ghost, so really good caliber guy. Yeah. I still see him every week. So it's forged friendships that have lasted. Wow. Like I said, I'm nearly 50 now. So 30 years, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, there's something to be said for martial arts, isn't there? Where the communities that you have and the friendships that you do, that it's just something unique about getting punched in the face by someone that really solidifies that bond.
It does build a brotherhood, for sure. And it's built that brotherhood all the way through, really, from Brendan, Rick, more recently with Mark Tucker, like his jiu-jitsu influence and his Bikiti influence and just his violence influence. Like, you've met Mark, you know what his history is. He's a guy that doesn't mess around and can do what he says. Same with Maestro Paulo, like having his influence for Filipino martial arts and his connections when going over to the Philippines. Like, he got me in touch with like 6 or 7 masters of loads of different arts. It was just amazing. Steve Rowe with Tai Chi and his influence on how to just be a better human. Like, that guy, he's in touch with some cool stuff. Regardless of the martial arts, if you took that away from him, he would still be a guy that I would happily pay money to just to go and sit and talk to him because of his knowledge of other things like Buddhism, Wicca, like all the different sort of religions. He's a very switched on guy that really knows what's going on. Have I left anyone out? I don't think I have. Mark, Paolo, Mario at the moment for Salat. I'm training some Salat line with Mario, and then he comes over every year. That's cool. As you know, his stuff is deadly. That guy can move.
Yeah.
Just absorb a fraction of that is phenomenal. Having loads of people around you that are really good at what they do, and have the same kind of mindset and ethos, and yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. That's why you're in the group now.
That's it. Yeah, it's the same thing.
It attracts nice people. MKG for sure attracts decent people. That's what I love. One of the things I love what Rick's created is that anyone can get on board as long as you're just a nice person. Just be cool. Just be cool. Lose the ego and just be a nice person. Because that's what most things come from. Most arguments, most disagreements are ego. I think I'm better than you. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can do it, brilliant. If I can do it, brilliant.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. When you first started training, do you think you were more into the weapon side of it or more into the empty hand side of it? So more.
No, definitely more. The weapon side of it wowed me more.
Okay.
So Rick send sticks and daggers all over the room was more wowing than watching someone do a Thai boxing a 4 count or some trapping or some jiu-jitsu. But I definitely focused more on striking to start with because of the whole like, well, you never have a weapon in your hand and all that sort of thing. But now I've literally nearly always got a weapon in my hand, so it doesn't make a difference to me now.
Yeah.
Definitely back in the day, and I liked Rick's kind of what he used each art for.
Yeah.
So striking wise, Thai boxing would be your conditioning and your power base. So you learn how to hit very hard for a long period of time, which I really like. Still to this day, even though I can't do it as well, I love doing drill rounds. I mean, drill rounds is the best format to go in. You're not going to do anything technical. You're just going to hit pads. Just hit it hard and keep going. I love that. Yeah. That's brilliant. And then you would look at JKD for close and range and trapping. You would then use your Panatukan for lines and destructions. I would like, I like his theory on each little bit had something to put into the puzzle.
Sure.
And I thought that was very, very cool. And because you could do that, it kept you and students, when you start teaching, it keeps your students interested because it gives you so much to teach from. You're not just going to teach from, well, we're going to go, oh, great. What do we do for the next hour?
Sure.
Let's mix it up. Let's do something dynamic. And that's with what Rick has categorized and how he's created his syllabus. I think it's amazing. That then has led me on to the weapons, because then it's like, well, you can do that. You can do that with your double stick, and then you can do that with your empty hand, and then this is stick and dagger. This parry comes from this and this, and then you see the connections that he's put in. I think it's brilliant. Really, really cool.
Excellent. Yeah. So when did you first start thinking about instructing then?
I was teaching for Brendan at Brendan's, so he would let me teach. He would never give me a certificate to be a teacher. He was always like, yep, go and see Aaron. Any beginner come in, you can go to train Aaron. Yep. So I'd always be teaching beginners and helping them out, as you do kind of your senior students help out. So it was fine. That's what we did. And then I kept speaking to him about becoming an instructor, and he's like, why do you need to teach? You teach for me. You don't need a bit of paper. Sure. And I was like, okay. He'd make someone else an instructor, and I'd be like, B, I'm kind of teaching for you all the time. Can I not get a bit of paper? He's like, you don't need it. You're teaching for me. Why do you need it? And I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. And then one day I was like, B, I want to open a gym in Southampton. I want to get some nights teaching on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And he's like, yeah, no worries. Here's a bit of paper. Bosh. And he was like, if you're not going to do nothing with it, there's no point in having that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
A lot of that these days, people chase to get a certificate, but they don't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, even rep the material. It's just, I want that bit of paper to say that I can do it.
Yeah.
Great, but can you do it? Do you know what I mean? It's fine having a bit of paper. Like, I was training with a guy in the Philippines that wasn't certified in his system, but like Maestro says, look at him move. Look at him. That's his certification. The fact that he can show you and he can demonstrate it eloquently. Does it matter if he's got a bit of paper? I don't think so. He can teach me, so that was good enough.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, once I started to run a club in Southampton, that was when I started teaching properly. And then it's kind of escalated from there to a full-time career, teaching seminars wherever I can, hopefully up for you soon.
100%, yeah, 100%.
Gig.
Yeah, and it will coincide it with a gig as well, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was it for me. Just started teaching then, and then Went full time about 9 years ago now. And then, yeah, it's just gone from there, really.
Did you find it quite a natural thing to teach? Because in my opinion, I've been trained with you quite a few times now. Like, you're one of the best that I've trained with in terms of putting the information across in a way that kind of everyone gets and in a fun way. Yeah. Was that a natural thing for you, or were you a bit like,
no. As you are well aware, I hate spotlight and I hate being the person out the front.
Yeah.
Except for when it's doing martial arts.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing where I'm just like, well, yeah, I can do this. This is fine. But this sort of thing, anything, you know, I hate it.
It's linked to martial arts. This still counts.
That's why I'm doing it, and because it's you. Do you know
Thank you.
But no, it didn't come naturally, and it has been it's been an influence, to be fair. It's something of influence, right? I've had some amazing coaches, and it'll be different people. I've tried to extract something different from how they hold the room and how they teach, how they project. But each of them hold the room in a certain way, but they all hold the room. When Rick Faye's talking, Rick Faye's talking. You know what I mean? When Mark's talking, you're sitting there and everyone's bated breath. Phil Norman, brilliant at it. When Phil teaches, everyone is on, like, just go a bit more. Steve Rowe, he sits there and we all sit there around him and it's just like he's holding a kid's class. He's just talking that chat.
Story time.
Holds the room so beautifully that you just don't want to look anywhere else because you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And it's trying to get that and experience of teaching people you don't know.
Yeah.
So going into a seminar for someone that you've never met and saying, right, they'll give you a list of what they want. You kind of tailor it to what you think they need and what they want. And then just teaching people and having to backtrack and change things on the fly. That helps massively. Because obviously we all start off the same way. We have our little notes on what we're going to teach that night and we walk in and a beginner
down to the minute. Yeah.
Then you've got to change it on the fly. So I kind of did that, and now I look at it. So Steve Rowe puts it as memory palaces. So he has a memory palace of different doors, and you'll walk into that room, and it'll be labelled, I don't know, Negong, and he'll open the door, and all the memories for Negong, all of his information will be in there. Rick Fay calls it a toolbox, so he'll have a single stick toolbox, and he'll open the toolbox up. This is a single stick drill I'm going to give you. Double stick, And I've kind of tried to do that, categorise, because of the different arts and the fact that I'm doing different forms of Kali or MMA. I try and do it like that. So I have a lot of decampo, a lot of it's single stick, but it has a lot of double stick. So if I'm doing double stick at the gym teaching, sometimes I'll bang in some decampo because it works off of double serrada rather than our usual guard. It's drills that start from here, so it's totally different to what we usually have. So it's the same thing but slightly different. And so I just go to that toolbox. What do I need tonight? Oh, I need a single stick drill, or they wanted the seminar wants to cover stick and dagger, so I go to my stick and dagger toolbox. Right, what do I need to take out for that? And I kind of put it into that and make it fun and try to introduce like fun things, like fun sparring. So I went to Florida for a holiday and we went and trained with a guy called Kyan, who's JKD Kali, and we did this lovely session, me and Hannah, she was about maybe 10 or 11, but still you've met Hannah, an absolute badass.
Yeah.
So we went and we did this training with this group, lovely group, sweet as a nut. And then at the end, he's like, oh, do you want to do some sparring? And I was like, I haven't got my kit. I haven't got my gloves and my hat. And he's like, no, we'll just do some sparring. We'll just normal, just tap. And I was like, okay. Didn't want to lose face in front of my daughter.
Sure.
Didn't have insurance, so didn't want to get injured. Didn't want to injure the guy and be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to a way of sparring that was just so much fun. Just tapping, just like moving around, and you're not committing too much. You're not diving in because you've got headgear on and hand gear. You're just moving around, pop, and then acknowledging the shots, which was very. It was so much, and you've done it with me. I do it on seminars.
Yeah, we did it in commentary. Yeah.
I think it's such a good way of doing it. It keeps you honest. And it makes it more fun and less pressure for people. And you can still get that timing, that distance, that rhythm, and that contact, but just in a light, playful way that's not gonna. Yeah, you're still gonna get hit in the knuckles and things like that, but it's not gonna injure.
Yeah, it's not debilitating.
Not debilitating. So everyone's got to work the next day. Another thing I like about what Rick does is that it's normal people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You can have a bank manager in there that doesn't want to get beaten up and have to go to work, but still wants the same level of training as what a fighter might have.
Sure.
So I think it's a very cool thing that we've got.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of fair to say that you're one of the top guys in the MKG now. So how did that progression kind of come about for you? Obviously, you started
Um,
training with Brendan, you loved the
it was,
training, and then
yeah, it was because I was with Brendan for so long and helped him out that he kind of nominated me on his passing, that he wanted me to carry it on because I kind of had the same ethos that he did with MKG. Didn't have the same connection with Rick as Brendan had. Brendan and Rick were really, really close. I
Mhm.
wasn't that close with Rick to start with. I am now, but not back then. Brendan was my guy. Rick
Yeah,
was Brendan's guy, so I wouldn't skip. You know what I mean? That's not what I would do. But then when he passed, he wanted Rach and Ollie to run MKG Bournemouth, which they took on and have absolutely smashed.
yeah,
He wanted them to run Cowshot, which again, they've run with that and made that this year. You know, look where we are. They've
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
amazing.
He made wonderful choices there.
Yeah,
And then he wanted me to help Rick with the organisation. So I've done that and kind of think I've done quite a good job. When COVID happened,
yeah,
I was quite instrumental in putting everything online.
yeah,
So MKG as an organisation had someone teaching every night of the week
yeah,
for a couple of years. That was, you know what I mean? That kept so many people going and created such a bank of knowledge on the MKG University
yeah,
that's there forever now. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's hundreds of hours of all of us teaching different drills, and there was some wonderful stuff that came out of that.
Mm.
Stuff that I still use today. Actually, stuff that I was using last week with the putting a different angle on the front. That was from Woody.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Something will twig, and you'll be in your toolbox, double stick. Oh, we've done that. We've done. Oh, Woody did that. I'm going to do that today, and
yeah,
then just practice and then teach it. So that was really good. Changing how we promote instructors. So as you know, I've worked with you going through the way that we do it now, where all of the information is out there, what you need. You just got to be able to do it, video it, send it to me, and then I can look at it, advise you, and then pass you for the next grade, which is a more honest way of doing it, I think. It keeps people who want to progress working towards that progression rather than just turning up for a seminar and getting your next certificate.
sure.
So I really like that way of doing it. I think that's cool. So I'm really happy with how MKG's going, and we could always be bigger, but I think we're doing really well. Like Rick's, when Guru comes over, he gets good attendance on his seminars.
Definitely.
The material that he's doing, he seems to have pulled out a load of new toolboxes at the moment, because he'll come out with, like, you were in Italy, some of the stuff he was doing
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
it's cool. Yeah,
mind
amazing.
blowing, just mind blowing.
Yeah,
And the last time he came over for Milton Keynes, it was the same there.
yeah,
It was a total different seminars than what he's been doing before. So I really like that. But like I say, it seems like I remember when I went over before by myself and I stayed with Rick, he had all of his folders out on the desk one night in his kitchen. And I'm not kidding, there must have been, I don't know, 30 folders, if not more, of just full up with his notes of years and years. Because even now you'll see him, if you go on during a Santos seminar, he's stood at the side scribbling,
yeah.
you know what I mean, making all of his notes so he can transfer it later. So yeah, what that guy's got is just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely. When was the time then that you thought, this is what I want to do full time? This is what I really want to pursue? Because obviously now you've travelled to the Philippines, you've travelled to America, you've travelled to Italy, you've travelled to, to see all these great guys and train with them. But not everyone does that. It takes you've got to be kind of in it. If you're travelling across, oceans and stuff and putting your money on the line and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
You've got to be kind of into it rather than just, I'm going to rock up to a few classes a week.
yeah. I think when the first time I went to instructors conference in America with Brendan, I think I only went with Brendan once, because then he maybe twice we went over. But the first one, I remember that being a really, like, going back to Guru Rick's and just being with everyone and being treated like, not as the new kid, just as a part of the family. That was very much enlightening. Japan, when we did the instructors conference in Japan, that was just wow. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, that was a special, even though my kids were very sick that week, it was a very special trip.
Yeah.
Italy, taking Hannah out to Italy, and that was a very special trip. But for full time, I don't know, I think I'd always said that I wanted to run a full-time gym. As soon as I started teaching and saw that it would maybe work as a career, I never really liked what I did as an engineer.
Okay.
I did it because I started off in electrical maintenance, which I didn't really like. It was just a job out of school. And my dad was in engineering, and he created a good life for us. So I thought, well, he had good money, I'll do engineering. It makes sense. Got a job. And then after that, I had a really cool job doing robot programming for car plants.
Cool.
So yeah, the robots that weld the cars together, lift them, glue them. I did that, loved that. But then all of the automation went to Europe, so that died. Then I went into power generation, and that was good, but it was soul destroying. It was kind of, you're just going in. So I could just go click, click to start the power station, and that would be my job for the day. Great money, great benefits, but just didn't stimulate the mind in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I was teaching twice a week, and we were getting good numbers. And then a place came up, and I thought, you know what, we'll just try it. And the wife was very supportive. So we did it, and went full time. And then it was just kind of, from there, it's just kind of escalated now with the trips and people like, seeing me go out to the Philippines and training with these different people. I think, so hopefully it'll just go from strength to strength now, because FMA is what I want to be doing, really, is what I want to be known for in the UK. I want to be pushing that for Guru Rick, for Mark and Paquiti, and for Maestro with De Campo, Illustrissimo, and even Barral Sabo now that I've been training with them. So it's trying to promote these arts that I've been learning, because they're so much fun.
Yeah. When did that shift occur from going to like empty hand into weapons? That's where I want to be focusing.
There you go.
When did the shift occur from going empty hands? I want to self-defense. I want, to be able to hold my own in a bit of a scrap, to weapons. This is where I'm at.
I would say probably in lockdown.
Okay.
Because, as you know, teaching online, as I teach you online, stick work and knife work and weapons work in general comes across very well.
Yeah.
Whereas Thai boxing, you can shadow box, you can hit a bag, but it doesn't come across as well unless you have pads. So I'd say it was starting then. And I'd say it's developed because of the complete system that Kali FMA is. Because it does have weapons, empty hand, grappling, locking. It does have clinch work. It does have everything that you need to become a complete fighter. But why would you want to hit someone with your hands if you can hit them with a stick? It just makes more sense. And you can take a stick anywhere. Like, you can take a shillelagh anywhere. You can take a walking stick anywhere. And it just gives you something. And if you've got it, even though you'll have it as a self-defense tool, but you'll just train more. You'll just move around. You'll just do the drills that you've been practicing. So, and the transfer back from weaponry to empty hand is a thing of beauty again. So I look at it from a self-defense aspect. Is I've not had to have a fight in 20 years.
Yeah.
Don't go out looking for trouble. I don't go out drinking. I don't go out, listen with you, and then I've got you, so I'm fine. Or with Tully, again, he knows everyone, it doesn't matter. But you don't, if you're a reasonably nice person that has their attitude or their ego on track, you shouldn't really have to have a fight with anyone, unless you're put into a situation where you have to.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully 20 years of martial arts would be enough for us to be able to deal with the drunken uncle at the wedding, like Rick says, in a way that doesn't need to be going all combative on them. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need that.
Yeah.
That's why I like Tai Chi. That's why I like Steve's soft approach. So soft front, hard back. You're nice until, again, it's time not to be nice. Sure. It's having that attitude with people. So I think because I'm not put in that situation of doing security work, having fights every night, that the weaponry just seems more applicable and more transferable skill, let's say, than Thai boxing or even jiu-jitsu nowadays.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah,
and it's
you're all
nearly 50 years of age. You know what I mean? I'm only a few years off 50 now.
Yeah.
I boxing Tuesday night because we had an odd number and my mate came down to train and I didn't want him to not have it. So I said, I'll train. And I got up the next day and I was like, oh, yeah, that hurts. So I just think I'll be able to do Kali and Tai Chi for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that would be the things that I will navigate towards as I age.
Yeah. And you mentioned the BJJ there as well, because you're purple belt BJJ, correct?
Yeah, purple under Mark Tucker.
So how did you start with the BJJ and why did you start?
Again, that was something that I've done since maybe 1990 something. I met Brendan when Mike hosted Mauricio Gomez back in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah.
Brendan again come down with Gary Baker. It might have been Phil, it might have been Colin, I can't remember. But he came down and basically they got Shark Tanked.
Right.
And Everyone in the room just went with Gary and Brendan, and they just ripped everyone to shreds.
Yeah.
He wasn't even known for his jiu-jitsu. Gary was a really good jiu-jitsu player, but Brendan wasn't really known for his jiu-jitsu, but he could roll.
Yeah.
He could really lay it on you. So back then we were doing it. It's just not something that I focused on too much. I did like sections of it. So I trained with Gary Baker for a couple of years, and we'd do that. And then I had mates that we'd always go and roll in the shed. And when we went out on a Thursday night, rather than going to the pub, we'd go around someone's house and we'd roll.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't until Mark came that I kind of got back into jiu-jitsu because of his theory on, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. You decide whether it's self-defense, competition, or just rolling around with your mates.
Yeah.
It's just jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to teach you something that you're not going to use in the street, because you're not going to go to some weird De La Riva guard and then they're just going to stomp on your face.
Yeah.
So what he does is he keeps very true to traditional jiu-jitsu and what it used to be.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because of the traditional sense. And if you roll with Mark, you know that it's a whole world of hate. I remember the first time he come down, I rolled with him for a couple of hours, and it was horrible, hideous. Literally, I felt like a planet was on top of me.
Yeah.
And my mate Nick come down to roll with him afterwards, and I stood there, and Mark got top position, cross body, and Nick looked at me like his soul had left his body. And I still, to this day, if he watches this, he'll remember. Still to this day, I remember thinking, "Yep, I've just had that for the last 3 hours."
Yeah. I recognise that face, my friend.
Yeah, I know that. And I just really like his way of teaching it. It's not fancy. It's just good jiu-jitsu, good old school jiu-jitsu, and I like that. I think that's cool. So that's what got me started there. And then, yeah, just carried on with his combatives and his Pakiti. Because when I started doing DeCampo, he started doing Pakiti with Patch, so he learned that.
Yeah.
So I've studied that with him as well, just as an extra thing.
Yeah.
Again, more Kali.
Yeah, well, there's so many different styles, is that the right word? Or like
flavors,
areas, flavors, etc.
Yeah.
How do you, and you train in so many of them, how do you look for the similarities in them? Do you look for the differences? Do you try and form your own kind of blend of it? Like, how does that work for you? How do you correlate it in your head? Because I struggle enough just with one style, with the MKG stuff.
Yes and no. So yes, I look for the similarities. Yes, I look for the differences. No, I'm not trying to formulate my own thing.
Okay, cool.
There's so many people out there that have done such a better job. I don't need to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But what I will do is, again, the toolbox. If you want a double stick drill, I may give you in a Santa Lacosta, then I may give you for the brow, then I may give you DeCampo. Just, it depends what I'm trying to get across that day. If I want you in double serrada. But the similarities, if you took, say, DeCampo and Illustrissimo, DeCampo works off of 3 beats. It works off of a bait, a follow-up, bait, a counter, and a follow-up. Mm-hmm. Illustrissimo works off of a bait, a check or a counter, and a follow-up. So the similarities are always there between us. You just got to see them. And when you do see them, it's like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Like I've always said, we don't have triangles in DeCampo. We don't have triangle footwork, which until thought we didn't. And then Paolo was talking to Maestro this morning. He was like, "Well, we're doing floating from Illustrissimo," and then we started going on to double Carrera floating. And then he was talking about, he went off on a little tangent. He must have had caffeine today, but he started going, "Oh, and this is like this footwork. So like our replacement forward triangle."
Okay.
And, like, oh. And he was like, "Yeah, but we have that in DeCampo," and I'm like, do we? Because I've been telling everyone we don't have triangles in DeCampo, and he's like, yeah, we just do it as one step. We just go 1, and then we just go 1. You're just not going 1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2. You're just taking the foot out and going 1. You're in the same position. You're just doing it as one step. And I was like, wow. And I love those sort of things. I've trained the system now for 5 years, thinking one thing, and that little penny's just dropped and just changed my whole view of it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that happens all the time with Kali and Filipino martial arts, all the time. Rick will do something and then he'll say, well, now put your sticks down. The first time that he did double stick to empty hand, when he did inward backhand with the stick, so the basic Sinawali, inward backhand, inward backhand. Then we were in Japan and he went, okay, they're going to throw a jab, inward backhand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Never in a million years did I put the correlation together. And he did like 3 or 4 different drills, and it was just like, that's amazing. that, and if you think you've been doing this for years, because in the Philippines they would train weaponry first rather than empty hand, because why should I go empty hand if you've got a bolo?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to fight you when you're stood there with this and I'm stood there going in my best Thai boxing stance. That's not going to be a good day for me. This was real. So they go weapon against weapon, only empty hand if you lose the weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then transfer, you've been training single stick, double stick, single sword, double sword for years and years. So all of this has become natural. That's going to be so much natural.
Yeah,
so natural.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I think that's such a cool crossover that I don't know if people get or if they don't get. I know Rick's very big on it, but I've never heard anyone else talk about it like that.
Yeah, the crossover's huge, definitely. Yeah.
So that's another thing. The good thing with weapons is it will make your empty hand better, whereas empty hand may not make your weapons better.
Yeah.
I mean, like in box, it doesn't mean you can knife fight.
No, that makes sense.
But if you can knife fight, those same motions will transfer nicely into boxing.
Yeah, your footwork, your stance, your timing, your distance, etc.
All that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. What was it like training in the Philippines then? Have you been before, or was this your first time? Because you've just got back a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah, it was very, very hot. You'd have thought at nearly 50 years of age I'd learned to put sun cream on, but obviously not. So got sunburn. But just being, meeting Maestro, because I started training with Maestro in 2019, and I've trained pretty much every week, once a week since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It's the session that I do that I don't get a choice in what I do. He just tells me we're doing this, and it's like, okay, like as you know, as a school owner, you're very susceptible on going to what you want to do all the time.
Yeah.
Not doing what you need because you haven't got someone telling you what you need.
Yeah.
So I found that was really good to have a weekly session. Sorry, I was going to let my dog out.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, having that opportunity to train him, then going to meet him after like knowing him for 5 years was really cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Really, yeah, that was really good fun. Just having beers with him and going out. But he introduced me to really cool people. Like he has a really nice network of badass ninjas around him that just want to show you stuff. Yep. He's just like, yeah, just show you. They'll come down, they'll just show you stuff. And he would phone someone up, and we'd be driving, and we'd pull up in this place, and the guy would be doing some woodwork, and then he'd stop. We'd walk upstairs, and he'd just give me some stick, and we would just start doing Kali. It was just wonderful. It was just amazing. So yeah, a really good trip. Learned some excellent stuff. Got to solidify friendship with Maestro. That was nice. And actually get hands, so he could get hands on me when we're trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
So stuff that may not come across very well 2D, it's a lot easier for him to teach.
Sure.
And yeah, introduced me to new arts. So that was cool. People were amazing. The food was good. The beer was good. It was sunny. It was warm. Unlike this country, when I went, it was absolutely freezing, dull and grey. So that was nice. And just going to like Luneta Park and seeing the statue and going to a competition and it was a fantastic trip. It was just so much fun. And I highly urge anyone, if they are doing FMA and they want to get out there, to go out there and do it, because everyone was very, very nice. All of the grandmasters just wanted to show you stuff. They just were so open. I went and trained like 4 or 5 hours with Manueli from Illustrissimo, and he cooked us breakfast, and we sat there and had breakfast and coffee, and then we chatted for an hour, and then he'd get up and start teaching. And it was really nice because I wasn't allowed to do anything at first, and afterwards Paolo said that's how Tatang taught him. He would demonstrate, he would sit there and watch, and then he would call you out to do it.
Right.
And it was very like that. I would sit there and watch for Ben. He'd be like, right, come on. And then there was a ceremony about how you take a student on, so how you hand them the weapon, and you wrap the fingers, and you keep your stick right in their face when you hand the weapon to them. And he said, you don't know if that person's going to be a criminal or a gentleman, so you've got to be careful, because if they're a criminal, they might try and jack you. So you've got to be ready. He said, but always teach the criminal, because it ain't going to be the gentleman that attacks you in the street. You've got to know how a criminal works.
Sure.
Just that kind of mindset, and it was just very cool. It was sometimes a bit overwhelming, like with the amount of stuff they were giving and how open and just generous and nice they all were. But I would literally have come home, saw my wife and kids, picked them up and gone straight back out there.
See you.
Happily have done that. because it was just such a great experience. Like Maestro was a really good host. Nothing was too much. And like I said, I met 6 different masters and grandmasters, like proper grandmasters. Like, you know, these people, some of the things they were demonstrating, like distance management, where he would draw like a triangle from your foot out, and then he'd stand on this triangle and you would feed an angle 1 and he'd just do this, ride it out. So he'd follow the force, bomb, and then he'd be like, can you hit me? And you go, no. And he'd just go, tap. And you're like, how is he doing this? And then he'd give me a staff that was maybe 6 to 8 inches longer than his stick. And he would like do something, shift his weight a little bit, and he'd be like, can you hit me? No. Bop. And I'm just, it was just mind blowing. But it was their willingness and openness to share that was probably the main takeaway, apart from the arts. And it's just how they just wanted to give you what they had. Just let me show you. Let me show you some more. Come on, we're doing another bit. And it was just constant. It was just hours and hours and hours of blocks of training, which was nice because when I got there, Maestro was like, you train with me every week. You don't need more time with me. You're here maybe once. Let's get you in front of as many different people to meet as many. And that was lovely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a nice way to
It was his openness as well. He could have quite easily gone, no, you're just going to train with me, that's it. And he was like, no, let's go and do this. Let's go and meet Sir Bobby. Let's go and meet Guru Mario. Let's go to Paete and do that. Let's go into Lunetta and train with Master Doi Doi and all these different things that is just, yeah, let's go and do that. Let's go and do that. Nothing was too much for him. It was really cool. So if anyone's going over and Maestro's available, I'd highly recommend you check him out. Because, yeah. And it was the same when I went over, I've been to Rick's, you know?
Yeah.
With Rick's, and Rick's taken me up to the cabin and we've gone shooting. Nothing was too much, you know? He's like, what gun do you want to shoot? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I'll just keep loading them. You just keep shooting them. Okay. Boom. Boom. It was so much fun. And that's the thing. These people are just so generous with their time and energy. That's what I want to surround myself with, and that's what I have surrounded myself with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People like you. You know, that's the things I want to attract nice people that want to learn FMA.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Finally, then, let's get on to the Tai Chi and the spiritual side of it. Because obviously, we've looked at the physical side of boffing people with a stick, stabbing people with a knife, punching them in the face, and Thai kicking them in the leg. But I think you're a pretty spiritual guy, aren't you? And then you've got into the Tai Chi side of it now as well with the fantastic Mr. Steve Rowe. So what made you think, all right, Tai Chi, this is the next piece of the puzzle for me?
So that whole journey started with a trip to America with Gareth. So Gareth Bazzani, you know, he we got drunk one night, surprise, and
start of every good story.
It does start with every good story. And we were in the hotel room together. The story's taken a dive.
Oh dear, right.
And he just put on this thing about quantum physics, about the double slit experiment, about how things act and react when they're being watched and when they're not being watched. Mm-hmm. And then he put on the Miyamoto water emotion. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where they put emotions, all the water's the same. They put stickers on the jar, hate, love, anger, murder, death, whatever. And then the intention is put. So if it says about love, you think love as you're looking at the water. They then freeze the water. And some of the crystals are beautiful. All the good intention stuff is beautiful, like these perfect, like snowflakes. Mm. And then all the ones that were hate, anger, aggression were all like horrible. Even when they played music, if it was like angry death metal music, the water crystals would become horrible,
right?
Rather than these beautiful snowflakes.
Okay.
And obviously we're made up of water, so that kind of the whole be good to yourself and be good to everyone else kind of come through from that. And then it was just looking into lots of other things alongside that, like the Buddhism, and just general kind of ethos on how you should be. Because I've grown up with quite a temper, and probably a bit of an attitude, really. And I've tried to iron that out by looking inside and seeing why I react to the way I do to things. And a lot of that has come from Tai Chi. Mm-hmm. A lot of that is when you're stood there and you're doing your neutral standing or you're doing your upper yin, you're looking at those emotions that you need to be focusing on to try and see where they sit and see where they feel. As for who put me onto it, that was probably, again, Maestro and Mark. So a lot of the Campo is done from a mirror. So you would go palm in and palm out. So it's like you're matching how your hands move the same way as in Tai Chi. And he was like, you should maybe study Tai Chi. And then I tried to put one of my students onto Steve years ago because he wanted to teach Tai Chi, and he had done Tai Chi, he knew Tai Chi, but he didn't have a qualification to teach it. And I said, well, if you want to teach it here, you have to get a qualification. I would look at Steve Rowe because I've followed him for years.
Yeah.
Think cool guy. And he looked at it and he's like, that's too expensive. And I was like, okay, how much is it? Looked at it and thought, it's not cheap, but look what you're getting.
Yeah.
Look at, you know what I mean? And the way he does it is amazing. He does one Sunday a month, and there's like 10 of you there, and you learn, and then you go away and work it, you come back, and he'll teach you some more, whether it's form, whether it's weapons, whether it's pushing hands or whatever. So the way he does it was really cool. And then a couple of years later, I was thinking about it, and I saw an advert come up, and I wanted to add something to it that was more spiritual, and something that I could continue with forever.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing debilitated, you can still do Tai Chi, you can still meditate. So I did it myself. I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go. And have loved it. He is amazing, and how he puts it across and how he teaches is really good. He's another one that can just, everything's from memory. There's no him looking at something to see what he's going to do. It's just, he just knows it. He is a proper master of his craft. Really.
Yeah.
And he does things like, so it seems like any of the violent stuff that he would try and do, he would do it on me. So in my group, I'd be me or one of the big guys, because I'm one of the bigger guys. And he said one day, he's like, everyone's heard of Bruce Lee's 3-inch punch or inch punch. And everyone's like, yeah, because, well, I can do a no-inch punch. We're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll do a no-inch punch. So he's like, Aaron, come here. So I went up, and he did. He just sat into his bows, the leg bow, the spine bow, the arm bow. So you sink, the hand doesn't move, but your back's compressed, your legs have compressed down. And then he just let this shot go. It's like, boom. And it's stuff like that he can demonstrate. I've seen him do pushing hands with me, and we were doing this rolling push. No, sorry, it was dynamic pushing hands. So dynamic pushing hands is you go as hard as you can, and you're leaning in, and then you sink into your bow. So you're going back, but the hands aren't moving, but you're softening into your back leg and into your back, and then you can spring it back. This is transference of chi. And he did it with me, and he was doing it with me, and he was just holding me off with one hand, chatting casually, like he was just having a beer with his mates. And I was like trying everything, and he was holding, and he was like, yeah, so anyway, yeah, so we're going to do this. And it's stuff like that. Like, the guy's got one leg.
Yeah.
You know, cancer survivor in his 70s, and he's just like, ain't no thing. What's next, bro? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, that's the thing. That's the sort of thing I want to be able to do.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff I want to know. You know what I mean? And just the nicest of guys. And the group that he's got, like any group I've been into his classes, his instructors around him. Just, again, a really nice group of people. But a group of people that I would never have come across because it's totally different arts.
Yeah, sure.
They're all pretty much karate and Tai Chi, whereas we come from what we do. So it was nice to get another circle of different people to act with, but also a circle of people that are just as nice as MKG.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. It's another really nice group of people that he's created. So yeah, really good guy. Highly recommend. If you get the opportunity and you want to learn Tai Chi, go and study with him, because it's well worth for me, it's maybe a 2.5 hour drive there, 5-6 hours of training, 2.5 hour drive back.
Yeah. Today.
So
yeah.
It's a Sunday a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Sunday a month. It was a Sunday a month, and now it's one in every 3 or 4.
Okay.
A bit more manageable, but yeah, really worth doing.
Great. What's your thoughts on Chi and Ki? And
my thought is that it's how you absorb the energy, but the energy is you using the bows to like as a spring. So you're absorbing the energy, but the energy is the fact that there's not a pinball of energy coming out and firing you out and you're going to get a no-touch knockout. It's the fact that you're going to sink into your bow. So your leg bow, your spine bow, so everything's contracting like a spring to then release. So that's kind of the way I would put Chi. Chi is like the transference of Chi. The translation is just life force. It's anything. It's a cup of rice with steam coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anything that gives you animation, Steve would say. So oxygen, food. Do you know what I mean? Anything that gives you your animation to move is your Chi.
Okay, perfect. what have you got planned for the rest of this year then? We're now in March. I know you're at the Filipino Martial Arts Festival in a few months' time. I'll see you soon. You'll be up at Lincoln.
Nice.
We've got stuff for the MKG as well. So
I've got Dublin next week after with Guru Mario. So I'm teaching Saturday, Mario's teaching Sunday. And then I've got the week with Mario, and then he's teaching for us on the Saturday, Sunday. So if anyone's interested in real Salat, I would come and train with Mario because, again, a master of his craft. Like when you train with Mario and he gets hands on you, it's a scary day. My guys love it and kind of hate it because he'll come in and there's a couple of guys that he'd always use, and bless Paul and Anthony, take a beating that day, much to my amusement. So yeah, I've got that, and then after that, I've got a seminar in, I think it's down Hastings for Neil doing Kali, and then after that, we've got Guru Rick over for the weekend, so that will be the highlight of the May bank holiday, having Rick and all the guys. A lot of
new
guys
venue.
There you go.
At the new venue.
At the new venue, which I think's attracted a lot of the Americans over, which will be cool. So that'd be really good fun. And then June, I don't think I've got much. July, I've got the FMA Festival. Then we've got the MKG Summer Games, and then which is just an excuse for me and Ollie to get together and get drunk and think of whatever games we can.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And then on the Sunday, I'll be doing some more instructor training. That went down really well. The last one we did, that was well received. Had a great turnout for that for the MKG instructors.
Yeah.
So fun. August, not much. September, I think I've got another couple of seminars about, but nothing major. Just trying to get out as much as I can, really. Just trying to, whatever people want. If they want Decampo, perfect. If they want MKG, not a problem. If they want... The thing is with Ghost and stuff, unless I'm coming up, you may as well get Jake and Phil, because obviously it's their system. Do you know what I mean? I know it, not nowhere near as obviously to any extent like they do, but some people just want a little bit of Ghost rather than Thai boxing, or they want a little bit of Ghost rather than Panatukan. So that's cool. Mick usually wants a bit of Ghost because he likes the movement.
Yeah.
So, and then back up to Mick in December. December's always just before Christmas. I always go up to Mick's because that kicks Christmas off for both of us. We do a seminar, and then, as you know, we go out and party and
till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Till 4 o'clock in the morning. That was your fault. We went out till 4 o'clock last time.
I always get blamed for this stuff.
So that's it. And then seminars at my place, I'll probably do one every couple of months. I think the next one I'll probably do will be Decampo. And then trying to do more kids seminars this year for my kids and my teens. Because they're lapping it up. Like the kids program's doing really well at the moment. I'm really enjoying teaching the kids and the teens.
Good.
They just pick it up so easily, as you know. Like stuff that the adults take and it fries their brain. The kids are just like, oh, what, like this? Yeah, boom. Oh, what, like, yeah, no worries. In it. So yeah, really enjoying that. I've got a grappling seminar this weekend with them, so going through different how to escape headlocks, bear hugs, pins, and stuff like that. So that'll be good fun. And then just trying to build the club as usual, build MKG, following into Campo, and whatever else Paolo wants me to promote. Do you know what I mean?
Do what you do.
Yeah, like he's gone into Illustrissimo now. He's focusing on that alongside his Decampo. So most of us who are his students have naturally gravitated towards it as well. Yeah. And like I say, when you see the crossovers, it's easy to do.
Yeah,
it's good fun. So yeah. What about you? What have you got planned? You said you got a self-defense thing coming up.
We do, for ladies and things like that. And just a few things in the diary. So yeah, try and keep it busy. Keeps us out of trouble, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. It's all good fun. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Guru Aaron Davis from MKG.
I didn't blabber too much.
No, that was perfect. I know, as you say, you're not one for the big podcast things, so I appreciate you coming on and having a chat, because there was plenty of people that wanted to hear your story. Obviously, I train with you on seminars and stuff, but it's good to hear everyone's background and hear what inspires them and what they're training on themselves, etc. So yeah, people get a little bit of inspiration from it and a bit of a more interesting car journey than listening to Spice Girls while you're traveling around. Then it's a win. So cool. We'll catch up soon, bro.
Nice, bro. Take care.